So there was a couple of misconceptions going around, and I basically decided to really quickly make this video together to try to, I guess, comment on sorry, I have a bit of a cold or something. To comment on Hunter Avalone's most recent video talking about George Floyd. He claims that the video footage shows nothing, but like it doesn't change anything. But throughout the video, I noticed he actually cut out like certain audio parts and stuff like that of what I actually ended up saying through the cutted clip. And there's some things he said, I want to bring them up. First thing is he started like getting emotional about the part where the officer drew the gun on George Floyd before he even walked up to the window. Very simple solution to that, basic protocol. George Floyd's hands weren't up yet, he was digging around. They waited, they told him to put his hands on the steering wheel. One thing Hunter Avalone left out when he was reading this is right when George Floyd put his hands on the steering wheel where they were supposed to be, the officer instantly put his gun back into his holster. I thought Hunter Avalone should have mentioned that. I expected him to mention it, but he just didn't end up mentioning it for some reason, I guess. So that's one of my first criticisms. Second one is he was saying, you know, like, he wasn't resisting. Well, he was resisting. That's why the second officer had to come and help the first officer to get him out of the car. Now, as they were getting him out of the car, they noticed that he was clearly high on something, and that he was already claiming he couldn't breathe. So they had to pull him out, and they walked him back to the police car, and they tried to sit him in. And then he started claiming he was claustrophobic. Now, I don't know why he's claustrophobic. He was doing fine in his car. But right before they put him in, the officers actually, which Hunter Avalone cut the audio out here again to put commentary in, but the officers actually offered to help him. They said, we will roll down the window for you, we will stand right by you, we will keep the door open, we will do what you need to do. You know, they were saying that, they're explaining that they will help him. If he needs their help, he just has to listen to them and get in the back of the car. Now, Hunter Avalone's getting emotional, saying, you know, he's clearly traumatized. Yeah, because by this point we know from his criminal record he has already committed several armed robberies, including one on a pregnant woman. So he kind of has reason to be scared of the police. That's how it should be. You should be scared of the police if you're a criminal. That's how it should work. And he's already robbed tons of people with a gun, so he's obviously rightfully scared of the police, just not because the police are evil and all that. He's scared of the police because he doesn't want to go to jail. Now, as we know from when they tried to put him in, he kept resisting. They kept fighting. The officers tried to restrain him, put him in the car. He ended up trying to fight them, and he said he'd be better off on the floor. He tried to fight them, so they ended up grabbing him, putting him on the floor and resting there. And then that's where Derek, you know, the officer put his knee in his neck, which that shouldn't have happened. Okay, I mean, I may disagree and think like the previous stuff the officers did was okay, which Hunter Avalone doesn't. That's why I made this video to correct him. But I definitely agree the officer should not have put his knee on his neck. However, George Floyd kept claiming he couldn't breathe. The only reason the officers didn't take him saying I couldn't breathe seriously is because he was claiming he couldn't breathe before they even pulled him out of the car, which signified, and also he's on drugs, so that's another reason I didn't take it seriously, which was a fatal mistake. And then I'm trying to think of other points, because I'm hearing a lot of people saying, well, yeah, he was saying he couldn't breathe beforehand, so they shouldn't have knelt on him. Yeah, I agree they shouldn't have knelt on him, but the reason they didn't take him saying he couldn't breathe a second time seriously is because, again, he's on drugs, so I don't know why he wouldn't be able to breathe in the perfectly, open-windowed car. He would be fine. That's another reason they didn't take what he said seriously, which is what led to, you know, where the case ended up happening and George Floyd dying, which a lot of people accuse me of saying I'm trying to justify his death. I've made it very clear. You can go back onto my channel. His death was sad and tragic. I'll probably put a little pop-up right here, but my Wake Up America video, I made that. I mentioned how George Floyd shouldn't have died. Now, I do talk about how he was a bad man. He's committed tons of crimes throughout his life, and he has a long history of substance abuse and armed robberies, but he shouldn't have died the way he did. I made that very clear in the video. Now, another thing is, I know Hunter Avalone got really emotional. I know I've done that in the past. I've gotten emotional on certain topics. I'm sure you guys can find examples of that. Everyone can be guilty of this at one point. But I just felt like Hunter Avalone was definitely twisting the video by cutting out certain parts of the audio, and over-dramatizing the part where they hold the gun to his head and stuff like that. That's how it works. Okay, they didn't hold the gun to his head. They pointed it at him. And yeah, you shouldn't really be scared after an officer points a gun at your head. The only reason he's scared is because he's going to jail. Yes, the officers had to point a gun at his head because his hands were nowhere where they could see them. And this is TF2 Fan 1 Exact Shots logging off. Peace out.